Hey YouTube, now we're going to move on to the second stage of restoring and upgrading this Silvertone Les Paul style SSL1. And if you haven't already taken a look at it, I've got a review and stage one out of the box, how I took this guitar from a very crusty, rusty, rough around the edges, shipped without the neck attached eBay special, and have already turned it with just a little bit of time into a really nice playing guitar. And now we are going to take a second step and actually start to mod and upgrade this guitar, because getting my hands on it, and as I started to play it, I was like, this is a remarkably nice guitar. It really is. It's the body shape in particular is my favorite aspect of this. This has, it's hard to really translate into film how nice this body is. It is so smoothly contoured and buffed. It is tremendously comfortable to play, and it's light. It's only 7 pounds. And my biggest complaints, generally speaking, about Les Pauls is they tend to be heavy and brickish in the way that they feel up against you. You know, and I like Telecasters, but just if it's going to be brickish, the Telecaster I find has still a better body in the way that it sits up against me. This is just opinion, and you know, because everybody's different, everybody's shaped different and stuff. I really like the vibe and everything of the Les Pauls, and I really like how they play, but I just don't find them super comfortable. And this, on the other hand, ooh, it is smooth. It is smooth like Michael Jackson smooth. It is so comfortable for such a cheap, crusty guitar. I was like, okay, I'm not just going to restore this in terms of clean it up, set it up, and you know, set it up on the peg. I'm going to take this to level 2, and I'm going to start the next stage. Now level 2 for me is replacing the pickups. The pickups that came in it were not bad, as you can see in my stage 1 video. They weren't bad, they sounded good, but they were cheap, I assume ceramic pickups. And I mean, they played perfectly well, but I liked this guitar enough. I liked the playability of the body, the lightweight, how it feels, and the neck, very playable. I like the headstock. I like a lot of things about it. And it was a guitar that, by looking at it, I can see it hasn't been played a tremendous amount, so it doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. It's mostly just storage issues, storage scratches, and a little nicks and bruises here and there. But overall, this is almost like a new instrument in terms of how little it has been played. It's really not worn. And so it's a really cool design. I really like the body and everything, and so I'm like, I'm going to take this and level it up. And so what I've been spending the day doing is going through my bin of pickups, because I just have a bin of them from projects, and sometimes I'll buy like lots of them on eBay or Reverb, where you can get a tremendously good deal on a bucket of pickups, you know, 10, 15 pickups or something. And so I've gotten some of that. So I've just collected, and through various mods and replacing and I've just got a bucket of pickups of varying levels. And so what I did was I went through that bucket, and I wanted some good pickups for this, and so I kind of narrowed it down to some finalists. And what I decided on is going to be a combination of a Gibson humbucker that I took out of, there's the Gibson USA, I took out of a Peavey, actually, very unusual, another guitar that one of my early videos was restoring and rebuilding that guitar. Very cool guitar, very, very cool, like 90s rock vibe, awesome guitar. But it had this, and it was like, this does not fit, and it was very poorly put in there. It's like a rodent had been chewing on it and stuff. So I pulled that out and put a single coil and put an returned it to its original SSS configuration. And I scored myself a Gibson humbucker. And I was like, well, I could either sell it and recover a chunk of my cost, or really I'm just going to hold on to it, and when the right guitar comes along, I'm going to put it in there. And so I decided to put the Gibson in the the bridge pickup, and that is the bridge to get like tinny, poppy highs, like really rich high tones. You want a lower resistance, lower ohms, and then for the rhythm, I'm going to put in this that I measured at 16.2, and this is a humbucker from an unknown origin. It's from one of the buckets of various things that I bought over the years. I think it was from a group of that had all come out of Ibanez's. So I think it's an Ibanez, but I'm not 100%. But it's a very well done. It's nicely, you know, and it's still in really good shape, and the resistance, the weight, and everything. So that's going to be the two that I am going to put in this. And you can see I've already got the old ones cut out, and I have the back off of there. You can see in the back that the knobs are small pots. At this point, I'm not going to mess with that. Small pots are fine. Generally speaking, the larger pots are better, but they cost more. And so generally you find the small pots, particularly a lot of Asian manufactured guitars have those and so forth. But the wiring was fine in this, and I wasn't getting any crackling, any weird noise or anything from it. So for now I'm going to leave it. That's something that I can come back later and rewire the pots if I want to go to like a stage 3 and finish the complete overhaul. But for right now, for today, I'm going to put these two humbuckers in. And it's mainly an issue of, now I've got the strings still on there. You know, it would have been easier to do all of this with the strings off, but I don't want to waste a pair of brand new strings. So you can just, if you don't want to waste your strings and pull them off, because you don't want to put strings, only in an emergency would you use a string that's already been strung, because they're much more likely to pop. Anyway, but the main thing is just getting them in there and situated and routing the wiring through the routing tunnel, which the pickups that came out of it had skinnier wires, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. I've already been kind of working with getting the Gibson pushed in there. It's not a real long distance, but it's not a real thick hole either, because originally it didn't have as much wiring. And then you've, of course, got the wiring running all the way across the body up to the switch there. And so right now I'm not doing the switch and the knobs. That might be a future thing. I will say also, I have never actually encountered this on a guitar where I just could not get this plate off. I mean, obviously I took the 3 screws out, but the little round access plate for that switch is so in there, and I guess has just bonded to such an extent that, I mean, I got all my little tricks, my tiny little Allen wrench to try to fish it out, and then you know, trying to get a pick in the side, and even got my knife out and started to try to like just get the tip to just pop one side out, and it's so you know, set in there, it still didn't want to come out. And I said, well, I'm not actually messing with the switch right now, so that'll be a battle for another day, and I put the screws back in. But very unusual. I've never had where I can't just can't get an access plate off, and it's surprised, like I'm very impressed, because these plates run the gamut in terms of how leveled they are, and this is very good work. Again, this guitar is really well put together, very well put together. So I got the access plate off there. Another thing that I'm going to take care of, I just haven't located my bin yet. I've got I'm going to replace those knobs, which is super easy. You pop them off, pop another knob on. The big thing with knobs is you want to make sure that you roll them all to be facing the same direction if they have numbers on them. And that way you can make sure that your 10s are all lined up, and you're, you know, anyway, getting them all lined up. So next thing, and I'm not going to show you the soldering or whatever. If you want to solder, go to someone that is better at soldering. I am proficient, but I am certainly not an instructor in soldering. So I'm going to solder these in. I'm going to route them, solder them in, get it buttoned up, and see how it sounds with the new pickups. Alright, so I've got it all wired up, soldered up, and getting the strings to settle back in. A few things that I ran into along the way. One is that the center block piece right here, in terms of the body, just above the cavity for the neck pickup, had a weird little bevel in there, which didn't bother the original pickup, but this one being, I presume, having more wire in it, being wound more, just did not want to go in there. And so I had to file it down. I had to use my Dremel and shave it down to get that edge back so that the pickup would go in there. So sometimes when you do pickups, you encounter body cavities. Sometimes the drilling is not deep enough for the screws for the new pickup. So there's a chance that you might have to do some modifications as you go. The other main issue that I had was that the cavity for the trunk line, in terms of the hole going through from the pickups into the wiring cavity with the knobs, that it was not real wide, and it was also rough, and so wires just did not want to feed through there. I used a few different tricks. The one that worked in this case was, luckily I had enough lead in the knobs that I could push all of the trunk of wires back up about probably 3 inches, and then I was able to get, particularly this was an issue with the Gibson. This was not an issue with the Unknown up here, which, it's got, it should be really hot, so it'll be interesting to see like a real classic tone Gibson and then a real hot. I believe it's probably something out of an Ibanez or something like that. That box which this came from were all like, just generally speaking, what you might call shredder guitar pickups. They're all hot pickups and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to have a great mix of a hot pickup and a classic pickup together. But getting that wire, particularly the Gibson, which the Gibson has the metal sheathing around the wire, which is the ground wiring. And so you just solder that in there as the ground. But because of that, it's very rough, and it's thick and it's rough. It doesn't want to go through there. But pushing the trunk line back up and then pushing the Gibson line as far as I could until it started to get stuck, and then I would pull it and working it through that way, it worked. The other ways that I was not able to get it through by taping the end and flattening it so it's a nice like little sharp, that didn't work. And trying to pull a wire through and then hook it and pull it through, that worked fine for the top one, but that did not work for the Gibson one. And so there's just some little tricks for if you have a really tight space and you're trying to feed those wires through. A few different ideas on how to do that. So as before I even closed it all up, before I even taped the ends while it was still open, first thing I did was I went ahead and plugged it in and tested the poles and tested my switch and made sure everything was wired correctly. I didn't mix up any wiring, and both of them worked as they should. So I have not actually heard this. I'm going to do one more tuning just to make sure we're good in tune and then see how it sounds. So you can hear how this is on the Gibson pickup on the bridge, and man, that has got some great twangy. Ooh, that's got some twang to it. It's nice, and very nice. But then you do something like, boom, kicking some overdrive. This has got, woo, so much better now. I mean, the original pickups, I would put in that fine category. They're fine. Now this thing is a tone machine. It has got a great, powerful, deep sounding neck pickup, and it's got a classic, vintage sounding bridge pickup, and the tones are at your fingertips. So this is, I believe, a great success. This is a $100 guitar that I put a Gibson pickup that I had gotten essentially for free when I bought another guitar. I pulled it out, so it was spare part, and a bucket pickup that I had just, I don't even know where, I don't know what this pickup is. It doesn't say on the back, but it measured right, and it looked really nice and had a nice weight to it, and so here it is. And now this $100 guitar with a little bit of work, a little bit of time and effort, and a couple of pickups, and woo, buddy, this thing is hot now. It was good before, but this is hot. So I'm gonna keep working on this guitar. This is the kind of guitar that you can just keep modding and keep improving, and at the, you have an excellent rig. I would already say that I would, once this thing gets settled in, I've had more time with it, I would absolutely play this live. This is a fantastic guitar. I'm not getting any noise. That's why I really didn't fuss around with the wiring. With the wiring, I just clipped, so I had tails off of each knob, and that way I'm not having to rewire the knobs. I just spliced in the wiring for that, and good to go, right? The only thing that was a problem is I had to do a little bit of body work, and the wiring was a little funny to get in there, but not a lot of work. And now I have, it was a cool guitar before, but with these pickups in it, the tone is way more aggressive and rich sounding. And I will go back and look at the clips of me playing this before and try to do as best I can to like mimic, because I'm just noodling on these when I'm playing for you, when I'm giving you the little clips. It's just, just me playing around with it. I'm not really thinking too much about what I'm playing, just trying to play riffs and styles that, seem to go with the guitar. So I will take a look at those, and we will go forward with a back-to-back. I'll do one, and then I'll do the other for the remainder of the video.